It's like 5 to 1 or something, or 8 to 1 and 25. I don't know what to talk
You know what? Instead of gravel, that's it. I think people would be a little bit more sincere in their argument. That's why they don't want you leaving. Like, no one left behind.
Is providing power to all of these places. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, we should
That's.
Oh, you're brilliant! I've been waiting for someone to
I love how great ties. Exactly what you just did to me.
I really
So that's the reason.
Yeah.
gotta be good.
Tina, you're not replacing somebody, are you? For who? Oh, Lynn just.
So who are you today? Come on, you gotta be somebody. I need four.
They are there. Yeah. It's called time.
Oh yeah.
That Keith's actually here, right?
Yeah.
He's standing right there.
Oh, I didn't check it.
Exactly. What's the,
March 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we do.
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to get started if we can. We have a quorum. So here and So I'd like to call the meeting to order. Brenda, would you like to
Anytime.
All right, folks. We have a quorum. Do we have any alternates in attendance? Any alternates?
Let me ask you a question. Can I be an alternate if they don't show, or do I have to have permission?
Permission.
Okay, I just offered.
All right. Okay, so everyone should have received a copy of the agenda. And I am once again going to ask that you would allow me to reorder some of the items on the agenda because some of the items are time sensitive. Under unfinished business, measure J, if we don't get to it today, folks, the election will occur and we will not have had this discussion. So I would say that that is time sensitive, and I would ask your permission to move that to number 1 under unfinished business, if that would be appropriate. And then under the faculty issues, new business, you'll see letters D and E. I believe letter D could arguably be old business since we talked about it last time, and I would ask that you would allow us to address that issue earlier in the agenda. If we could, about 4 o'clock would be appropriate. And then committee appointments. I have so many committee appointments that have been coming in. I'd really like to make those, and I'm begging your pleasure that I can do it underneath the president's report to ask for consensus at that point in time. So it would move letter E under new business to part of the president's report on committee appointments, and then it would reorder our unfinished business so that measure J becomes the first item. The second item, enrollment management task force update at 5 minutes could probably stay. At that particular point in time, we might be right around the 4 o'clock mark to be at the community college bachelor's degree program. And I asked some guests from the respective programs that put together proposals for me to present to PAC to come here and address us as well. And I want to be very considerate of everybody's time. So I asked them if they wanted to address us during public commentary. So in the event that we run long and we don't get to that agenda item by 4 o'clock, we won't be keeping them horribly late. With those items then, I'm asking that we would adopt the agenda so that under unfinished business, the first item will become Measure J. The second item will be Enrollment Management Task Force.
It would be newsroom.
I was hoping that Enrollment Management Task Force update might be more time sensitive than the newsroom.
All right.
And I'll explain why under my president's report.
Okay.
And then the newsroom would end up being the third item. At any point in time that we get to the 4 o'clock hour, if we could move on to the what is arguably old business but listed under new business, the letter D, community college bachelor's degree programs. But before I ask for that, are there any other time-sensitive items on the agenda that would need to be considered?
I'd actually like to, for the purposes of a speaker who has a class,
Okay.
I would actually like to make E, the exchange scholarship program,
Okay.
be a 440.
Okay.
And also, before we adopt the agenda, I'd like to make another motion that we restrict the debate on all of the topics to the time listed on the agenda.
Is there a second for that motion that we? Oh, fantastic! Who would we like to pick for a second?
And understanding we can always extend the debate on that.
Is there any discussion regarding staying within the time constraints? Very good. All those in favor of staying within the time constraints without reordering the agenda yet? Staying within the time constraints, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Then I will then ask for a motion to adopt the agenda with the aforementioned changes.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on those items?
Oh, not on those items, but did President Craig talk to you about?
Yes. Yes. All right. All in favor of adopting the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes from October 9th. Do we have any edits? Really?
I actually do.
Oh, good.
And it unfortunately, it deals with, and it's not an edit, but it's actually some color. It's the DE coordinator discussion that ends with a unanimous vote and 2 abstentions. Now, one of the reasons why I haven't spelled that out more is because the people, I don't actually know who was here that voted yes, and I didn't write it down in that manner. I have a way of preventing that in the future. But so, because some people did leave, the smart folks left as that discussion was taking place before 5 o'clock. And it's actually going to be important for us, if you do leave before we adjourn, I actually have to write it down. And I only knew that with a couple of people, but I didn't want to sort of throw that into these minutes and feel like I was calling somebody out for that. And it's not because we're trying to call somebody out, but it's actually because then it reflects with a unanimous vote. They know somebody's not part of that vote. They're really concerned with knowing who's voting for what and being able to track it. So I have a way that I can cure that going forward, but that's why that doesn't say that. And I want to make sure that people have an understanding of why that's done and that that's also their recollection of that.
So looking at page 7, under letter E, DE coordinator discussion is what he's referring to in case you haven't taken a look at the minutes, page 7.
Yeah, the second paragraph.
The second paragraph, there was continued discussion of the need to have a stopgap measure to allow for some mechanism to allow prospective DE instructors to be assessed by the criteria passed by the Senate, and that criteria is listed on page 6 up at the top in case you were wondering what criteria we're referring to. The need for faculty participation in that process was underscored after extensive debate and amendment, and on motions duly made and seconded, the Senate moved that a determination of whether a prospective DE instructor meets the 7 criteria agreed to by the Senate will be made by a committee including the distance education dean, division dean from the appropriate discipline, and 3 faculty members experienced in teaching distance ed. This policy will stay in effect until a new DE coordinator is selected. For those of you with recollection, who voted in favor of it so that we would have a correction to our minutes that would include, instead of the motion passed unanimously, who was here at the time that that motion passed unanimously? Okay.
So it's correct.
And we did have 2 abstentions.
One was Jesse, I know.
Does anyone remember who the second abstention may have been?
Because there were so many votes there that I was writing down that we did on different sorts of things. So.
All right, is that good?
Yeah.
Are
Thank you.
there any other corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes. And second? Thank you, Mark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 1 abstention? Very well. The minutes have passed. Moving on to public commentary, I have invited particular guests, Doug Soliday and Carolee Freer, that I'm going to ask first, would you like to make any comments during public commentary regarding your proposals?
Well, we can do it at 4.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It
Good.
actually be more appropriate.
Okay, just in case you folks would have to leave. I want to be very efficient, but also considerate of your time. All right, any other members of public commentary? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, senators of the Academic Senate. My name is Daniel Cody Lutz. I'm a student and a veteran of Cypress College. I'm here to talk to you or give my opinions on Measure J, and this has eaten up a lot of my time. I've spent actually the past 2 hours walking around the campus deciding what exactly it was I was going to say when I got up here. The first thing I want to tell you about is 2 days ago, the ICC, the Interclub Council, voted and passed to send a letter to the Board of Trustees requesting additional information on Measure J. We feel that they have not been clairvoyant or transparent in where the money is going to be spent, how exactly the committee members are going to be chosen, or who is even on a short list for it. We were also asking about the hot button issue of Measure X and the disconcern that the public and the community had after that measure passed, and then the actions taken by Cypress and Fullerton College within a year of that measure passing. I decided the best way was to actually go to my fellow student body. So in the past 30 minutes, I've walked around and asked approximately 30 students, have they heard of Measure J? I had 29 no's and 1 yes, saying if we vote for him, I hear the math department may get more money. That was as knowledgeable as that student was. Almost any student I've talked to about Measure J, leading up to this, has known nothing about it. Today you're going to vote on whether or not to endorse this measure. This is beyond just, do we need the money? You, as a governing body of this college, have constituents, which are the students. The students, at least from what I have seen, and you probably have some of your own personal experiences, are very underinformed. So when you make this vote today, look deep into yourselves and think, are you doing right by your constituents if you simply game the game and vote for it because we may help some things? Or are you doing wrong by your students by not standing up to something if you legitimately believe it's not right? If you legitimately believe that this money will not be spent in a proper form or may be squandered as the accusations of Measure X came down, if you believe that they're using the veterans and their service to pull at the heartstrings of the public to get $574 million in additional taxes to make renovations to programs that we don't even have a guarantee that they will make, to build buildings we don't have a guarantee that they will build. If you can look at yourselves in the mirror, endorse the measure. But if you honest to God believe that they're pulling the wool over your eyes, then for the sake of your students and the sake of yourselves, I would encourage you to make your voice heard and make the right thing happen. It may require tightening the belt. We've all had to do it. When they raised the students' tuitions, we had to tighten our belts. A lot of students had to go to work and balance now an almost full-time job, homework, and classes. Why? Because it's what needed to be done. Sucked for the students, wish we could have done better. Well, if you have to tell the administration and the district that, know that the students will have your back if you're doing the right thing. The Academic Senate, or the Associated Students, were asked to endorse Measure J. They voted and refused to because they did not see the transparency they feel is required to take that much of the taxpayers' money. We of the ICC did the same thing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Any others for public commentary? Yes, sir, please.
Hello, my name is Gerard Aurelio, and I'm from the Cypress Chronicle. I'm currently managing editor, and I'm speaking public commentary today after I heard that our issue on our newsroom hours was bumped again off the list on the agenda. And so I'm doing it right now to make sure that my voice is heard. What I'm going to say today is most succinctly presented in the editorial in Divergence magazine from September. So I'm going to read from here. I said in this editorial, this semester we are lucky enough to work in a newly renovated newsroom with an improved studio and a larger workspace. We've also got plenty of new staff members who show promise and a willingness to step up and prove themselves as members of the Cycron team, including our video staff who are recording this meeting today. This should be the perfect environment for an increase in productivity and quality, except it's not. The hours we're allowed to spend in the newsroom have been drastically reduced, and it makes it so much more difficult to get things done effectively. Unlike in previous semesters, where staff members came and went throughout the day and there was plenty of time available to work, we are now limited to the time that our advisor is available to be in the room. This makes the filming of shows more difficult since we're now working around a much smaller window of time. This makes production of Divergence magazine so much more time constrained. When I was writing this editorial, I literally stayed in the newsroom till 11 o'clock at night. Mercer was there, and I was grateful that my professor canceled his evening plans with his wife, just so the editorial board could go to press. That morning, I wanted to go in, ready to work on this magazine, but I couldn't, because Mercer had class, and when Mercer has another class in another room, I cannot stay in the newsroom and work on things that I have to work on. We've also heard from the Associated Students that they too suffer from this very same problem. Spaces reserved for student organizations should be open for students to use as long as they need them, and not restricted because of policies that only show how fearful this administration has become of liability. Is this fear worth more than our education? Education involves risk, and right now the odds are not in the students' favor. The Cypress College administration must make amends to policies that restrict student freedom. How do they expect the student body, apathetic and disengaged, that grows more apathetic and disengaged by the semester, to keep connected to the campus community? How do they expect these students to stay when our sister campus at Fulton College and other colleges in the area keep looking more and more enticing for those who want a richer college experience? Cypress College students are adults. We can take care of ourselves. We also pay taxes and tuition that funds this establishment. We are the members of this community with the most at stake, our education and our future. And with Measure J coming up with $574 million on the line, we also hold the influence to encourage our families and friends to vote in our best interests. We deserve these spaces, and we require an effective education. Even though our new newsroom is streets ahead of the half-converted cafeteria we were working out of before, the fact that our hours are now limited means that it's still that much harder to run our newsroom effectively. It's more difficult for Associated Students to work for the students that they serve. It has become a challenge for student organizations to find time to establish healthy professional and personal relationships and to establish camaraderie among themselves. This is a school. We students must have our spaces, and our voices must be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Your agenda item did not get bumped from the agenda in terms of it will be heard. It just got moved down on the old business. So I hope that you'll stay around and speak to it when it comes up. Thank you. All right, any others for public commentary? Michael?
It's very short. This past Tuesday, October 21st, Cypress College participated in a very well-attended and successful Anaheim School District College and Career Fair. Health science and CTE faculty were well represented to field questions from students directly about their respective programs. For example, automotive technology talked with over 40 students and obtained 22 interest cards. Currently, in an era where nearby community colleges are seeing a drop in academic enrollment, the college may benefit if academic faculty considered participating in similar future events to field questions from students I personally received Tuesday in the areas of accounting, teacher education, general education options, and transfer rates, for which I could only refer them to non-faculty representatives in our booth.
Thank you. Any others for public commentary?
Yes. Do I need to state my name again?
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay.
I'm sure we have no idea who you are.
Okay, my name is Richard Fee. I'm here in my on my vacation time. My place on campus is as the Dean of Science, Engineering, and Mathematics. I'm here on my vacation time once again to speak about Measure J. Okay. Now, what our veteran student said is true in that there has been difficulty communicating and getting the message out on campus. That in part is based on the restrictions that happened once the board decided to place the measure on the ballot. The people who have been campaigning and supporting Measure J have been frustrated because we can't just directly talk about it and give the details that we know would have an influence on the people in their vote. We should have done a lot more of this beforehand, but we didn't quite understand, and we think our political consultants didn't give us this kind of feedback in a timely manner. Like, get the talking out now, because afterwards you can't have signs on campus, you can't do this, you can't do that. So therefore, the message has been largely communicated to students or not communicated to students through our student senate. Dr. Simpson did address them at some point and provided them at least some information on how to find the information. It's not necessarily easy to find, but it is accessible through the district website. Okay, the district website has a link to what's on the ballot. The funding, the projects that are going to be funding are those that have been included in our educational master plan. So I know many of you in the room have had input into that educational master plan sometime in the past. All of the things that we asked for funding were there. Okay, now, the number we picked was an estimation of the cost to address each one of the specific facilities issues listed in the master plan. We didn't go randomly, 574 million should do it. We said this will cost this much, this will cost this much, this will cost that much. Okay, now that's forward looking. That doesn't mean that, you know, if prices go up on materials or things like that, we'll be able to cover everything. But that was the intent in asking for that much money at this time. Okay. Lost my train of thought here a second. The costs. Okay. The costs. We're going to be borrowing money. We're going to be paying it back. Right now, interest rates are looking pretty good. We can lock in 4.5% interest or less based on the really solid credit rating of our district. The entire 30-year bond, including all the payback, will be about $1 billion, which if you own a house and bought it for $574 million, you'd be paying more than that through the terms of the thing. lost my train of thought again. Boy, short attention span is a real dilemma. Measure X. There were some problems with Measure X. Part of the issue with Measure X was that we tried to do an awful lot in a really short period of time. We didn't have the experience that we now have looking backward, and there's a whole list of things we would do differently to make sure that those projects were done with more input from instructors, with better oversight, better supervision of the projects. One of the things that we will do is we will be hiring our own overseer rather than relying on a contractor to oversee it, so that the person who will be in charge of oversight will have our best interest in heart and not the best interest of the pocketbook. A third thing about Measure X that you may not know is that just about 2 years ago, the district went forward and renegotiated the terms of our bond in order to save the taxpayers over $10 million of what the original cost would be. So the district really is conscious about the costs. We really do have these needs, not just in our area, but scattered throughout the various different programs. Health Science is potentially embarking on a bachelor's degree program. I'm sure that the facilities in that area might not support that. And that's really what the bond is about. Should we be restricted in our ability to instruct based on the current and existing facilities, or should we develop our facilities in such a way that it will support instruction appropriate to our field? In addition to science and math, another major project will be in the area of fine arts. I don't know if you've been in that building. It's not in the best of shape either. So from all those perspectives, I think it's not a matter of spending money unwisely. It's a matter of investing money to meet our future needs. Right now, a lot of the stuff that's done in maintenance in our area, they'll come in, they won't even be able to find the parts to fix some of the things that are happening there. So you can anticipate on these older facilities that the maintenance costs are going to keep expanding. The other thing is that if you look at our district finances, 85+% of that goes directly into salaries. The remaining 15% or so goes into everything else. Your campus supply, office supplies, lab supplies, the electricity, the lights, everything else. If you have your classroom instruction, all that equipment in there was purchased on one-time funding through the swap meet. Okay, we just replaced the HVAC area. That was because the state happened to come out with a grant for facilities and instructional equipment at just the right time for us to replace a failing unit. So to say, oh, if Measure J doesn't pass, we'll just find the funding somewhere else. Everything the state is giving us nowadays comes with a string attached. We got the SSSP money. That's for specific services. We've got last time, two meetings ago, you approved the student equity plan. That money is attached to something specific. There really is not money floating around that we can say, our building broke, let's fix it. It's just not there. And that's why I firmly believe in Measure J and why I've been working on it. I know the communication hasn't been great, but those of us working on the campaign feel as though we've got one hand tied behind our back. And we can't come to you. If someone wants to know what it's about, you need to come to us. So I will hang out and be a resource and try and answer from this point forward just informationally. So if you have any questions or you want some clarification on what's happening, I may take a little break to go see if I can watch the solar eclipse, but I'll be around. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Any others for public commentary? Then we'll go on to special reports. Associated students? Doesn't appear. Okay. United faculty? Okay. Staff development?
Hello, my name is Peggy Austin, and Mary Foreman and I are your temporary one-year staff development co-coordinators. So I'll probably be the one attending the Senate meetings, but you may see Mary Foreman at some of the other meetings. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has helped us make this transition, especially Rebecca Gomez and Nancy Deutsch. They've been invaluable. And also a lot of the classified staff too, you know, Betty and Luella and all the people that deal with staff development. So thank you very much. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without those people. We're having our first meeting on Monday, this coming Monday, the 27th, from 2 to 3:30, and it will be in the library conference room on the second floor of the library. Let's see, Mary and I will be attending the CCC Professional Development Clearinghouse Summit on November 7th. It's an information and brainstorming session, I gather, to perhaps put some combined resources together for people in the area of staff development. So thank you to the tens of people who have sent us that announcement. So I do appreciate the support from everybody who's helping us become developed staff as well. Okay, at our meeting on Monday, we will discuss the standard events that happen during the year. I'll report on those later. But I do believe that we will attempt to have one conference funding period this semester. So look for that in a few weeks probably. Rebecca has updated the forms and the instructions and everything. So I think we'll be ready to go. That normally would be November 17th. We're hoping to make it there. I would say that there might be a shortened window to apply though. So this won't be ideal circumstances for this semester, but we should be right on target for next semester for the normal funding cycles. And last but not least, the district staff development committee is offering advanced Microsoft Office Word, Excel, and PowerPoint workshops. You got that message, I think, from Luella, who sent out an all users email. So you can go on My Gateway and sign up. I noticed 2 of the workshops are being held at Cypress College in the TLC. One of them is Wednesday, November 5th from 3:30 to 6:30. That's the Advanced Microsoft Office Word. And then Wednesday, November 5th from 9 to noon, also at the TLC, is PowerPoint. They've tried to put a few of these workshops in the later afternoon because faculty have said that they can't really make it during the morning. So they're attempting, but I know there are open spaces, so you can register through My Gateway. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you and Mary for taking on this valuable assignment. Curriculum Committee, Mark.
Jolena and I are the Dean of Fine Arts, Joyce Kerrigan, and Donna Landis, who works out of the instruction office, who does a lot. Well, she does all the coding of your courses that go into the systems office. So we do the front end that you're familiar with, which is CurricuNet, and then she does the actual coding through the website into the systems office. So we all went to Riverside. The weather was temperate, thankfully, at Riverside City College. I'm still, assembling my notes. I'm going to send it to you, so I'll send it out to all these Senate faculty. My report. There's always, as I said, on the ASCCC website, there are the PowerPoints of most of the breakout sessions. So my notations are just additions to things that are said that are not always presented at the PowerPoint level. So a lot of these breakout sessions and burning issues will show up again at the fall plenary session that's coming up pretty quickly for the Academic Senate. So there's always crossover. And then finally, the big challenge is to figure out when you're a curriculum chair or you're going to your Senate exec is how much is a distant change coming, or if you want to use the term tsunami or change that's coming, versus something that is going to really happen and is going to be consequential in the immediate sense. So At this point, I'd rather wait until I finish my report to delineate that. But suffice to say, there are some changes coming to how we do things that will be present, that are coming fairly quickly, and will be consequential to how we handle things. But I think that's about it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Treasurer's report? No report. Oh, thank you so much. Cypress College Foundation?
The foundation had their annual golf tournament on October 6th, raised $37,000 for the foundation. It was their largest profit so far. And Pull for Cypress is still going on, and I think that deadline was extended to the 31st of October. So if you haven't given a donation towards that, I'm sure they would love to have you part of that. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Basic Skills Committee, I got an email from Cherie that they haven't met, so there is no report. Student Learning Outcomes.
And I have no report.
Oh, very well then. Program Review and Department Planning.
We start on November 3rd, Monday, 2 weeks, a week and a half to start reviewing the programs. We're set.
All right, very good. District Council on Budget and Facilities, I was not able to attend the last meeting. I desperately searched for a substitute to no avail, so I cannot tell you what happened until I get the minutes from the meeting, so I'll postpone any further announcement there. Under the President's report, Mark alluded to fall plenary, and I had sent out to everyone something that looked like this. It came, I hope, to your inbox. These will be discussed this Saturday. Did I mention to you folks that I start succession planning right now? This Saturday, we are part of Area D. There are 4 areas within the state of California. We are Area D. And this Saturday, we will be meeting all of the academic senates from our Area D members to discuss the Area D's responses to the resolutions. I want you all to come with me. On a Saturday? Oh. All right. Well, I RSVP'd for 5 of us. So I'm hoping. So if none of you have other plans on Saturday, I even brought maps and parking passes, so you had no excuse not to come with me. I will tell you, it's the first step in the long deliberative process that is known as Saturday. Saturday of plenary is where we vote on all of the resolutions as the entire state academic senate. And like Mark alluded to, where did I put it? Our plenary is coming up on November 13th, 14th, and 15th. Thursday and Friday are the actual instructional sessions and seminars and initial deliberations from our areas. And then on Saturday the 15th, all day long, we end up voting for the different resolutions. So if anyone is interested in attending plenary with me, I would love to have you come. I would really, really like to have an indication, just send me an email that says, hey, I'd really like to go to plenary. You make it sound so exciting. So that way, next time we meet, we can entertain a motion to fund us all to go, because I want to give Lori something to report on. So there's what we have coming up for plenary and our Area D meeting. So please, come with me this Saturday. We can have a lot of fun. Mark?
Julian, that was the one kind of unknown that I had a question other people made. Because there is a class factor. So
With plenary, not this Saturday.
I know. But the one in November, so I'm just saying for some of us there may not be, we don't have a context to know what the limitations of that are. You know what I mean? Because it is a little expensive.
If we get Senate to endorse sending multiple faculty or senators to go, it would be funded through the Senate's budget.
So I mean, is there kind of a limit that you can estimate that we believe that we can fund 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Right.
I asked Planning and Budget Committee how we would be able to increase the Academic Senate budget so more Academic Senate representatives can attend these. And Planning and Budget has been very, very supportive and says just bring it to PBC and we'll make it happen. So, and I'm sure you all want to go. Registration for Party of 20? Okay, so that takes care of that one. Things are moving faster than I thought. Okay, so the last time we were together, I gave you a indication of what the timeline would look like for the bachelor's degree discussion. Yeah, that changed last night. It's now November 12th that the Board of Trustees must submit their intention to put forward a program, which is why we're really going to have to make a decision today, and I'll speak more about that when the agenda item comes up. But I want you all to understand that we now have a deadline for submission from the district to the state. It is November 12th. So what came out, if you folks received your news from the Board of Trustees, is they are planning on Tuesday, October 28th, so that's this upcoming Tuesday, the board meeting will include an examination of the policy considerations and ramifications of SB 850. So the board plans on discussing the baccalaureate degree on Tuesday night, October 28th. So that gives us 4 days to get together a really strong proposal for whatever program we decide to put forward to the district level that would compete against the Fullerton College proposal. So that's why the agenda item moved up to 4 o'clock, because it is very, very time sensitive. With that being said, if you're going to be there on October 28th, we've got some other things for you to do beforehand. Wouldn't want you bored in the afternoon. So on the Anaheim campus from 3 to 5, they are having a discussion on the district's vision, mission, and values. So if you plan on going to the Board of Trustees meeting at 5:30, come a little early at 3 o'clock and share in the open forum on discussing the vision, mission, and values of our district. All right, one other thing that I mentioned I would talk about, and it's regarding the use of the newsroom. During President's Advisory Cabinet last Thursday, Dr. Simpson addressed the use of instructional space by students without supervision. And it is clearly an issue of safety on the students' behalf and could potentially be an issue of liability on our behalf, both as faculty and as the facility. So he wanted to let us know, as the Senate, that it is a safety concern that would preclude students being unsupervised in instructional areas, but open areas of the campus, of course, they are more than entitled to use during the time that those areas are open. So I said that I would mention that during my report. We'll have that as the agenda item. It comes later down. The last item is what I asked for, moving up the committee appointments. And since Peggy is here, we'll start with hers first. The Staff Development Committee asked for 4 representatives, 2 full-time faculty and 2 adjunct faculty, for which I put a call out. I received 2 full-time faculty and 3 part-time faculty who are interested. So I would like to start with the appointment of the full-time faculty. Since I only got 2 and she was asking for 2, I would ask that you would approve the appointment of Michael Bridges and Susan Klein to the Staff Development Committee as our full-time faculty reps. And then for our 3 part-time faculty, I believe I might have 2 from the same department. JY, are you in English?
Yes.
Okay, so I do have 2 from the same department, and then I have another one, I don't know what department they teach in, Jess Gibson. So I have Nora Simos, Jess Gibson, and JY. And since JY is here, is that time that Peggy mentioned a conflict?
Yes, it will be.
Well, then there are 2 adjunct faculty that I would like to appoint. That would be Nora Simos and Jess Gibson. So for those 4, Nora Simos, Jess Gibson, Michael Bridges, and Susan Klein, I ask for a motion to accept their appointments to the Staff Development Committee.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor for the Staff Development Committee appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic, that takes care of that one. The next one that I have is the build out of the LLRC. I sent out a call for interested faculty members. I got 1. and they were looking for one. So I asked for a motion that we appoint Cherie Dickey to the LLRC Build Out Group. Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of appointing Cherie Dickey to the LLRC Build Out Group?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well, that takes care of that one. The next one that I have is the Technology Coordinating Council. I sent out a call for interested faculty members, and I was very surprised at the number of people who responded with their interest in this particular committee. I was just dumbfounded. I had no idea. I have 2 of them that are adjunct faculty and 2 of them that are full-time faculty. Do we have a preference on a district committee for full-time or part-time faculty in terms of appointment to this? Do we have a preference?
There's how many committee members, 2?
No, this one is only 1. They're asking for 1.
Only 1? I would think we would want to lean towards a
Full-time faculty member.
If there's only 1, if there were multiple, I could see representation from both.
Yeah.
It's just throwing it out there.
Well then, the 2 faculty that we put, that indicated an interest in participating, one is Garrett Hill from math, and the other one is Christina Johansson from health science. Though she did mention that her calendar is somewhat filled. So, huh?
That's how full your schedule is.
Let's see. This is, good question. I don't think they mentioned to me when they were meeting. Let me look to see. No, they didn't mention to me when they were meeting. But with Garrett being a new faculty member on our campus, and we like to encourage faculty members to participate in committees as much as we can, I would like the Senate to allow for a motion that we would appoint Garrett Hill to the TCC. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of Garrett's appointment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that takes care of that one. Oh, that's all the committee appointments that were listed on the agenda, but there will be more, because every time I go back to my office after Senate meetings, what fills your inbox but additional calls for faculty interested in serving on committees, and I already have 2 more that are sitting in my inbox. So with that being said, I will conclude my president's report, and we can move on to unfinished business, Measure J. Yes, ma'am.
I just noticed on the agenda the campus diversity is also on the
Oh, I'm so sorry. I made a note to myself. Sorry, Paul. That's your fault. I did send out a call to campus diversity. I had one particular person respond to it that says, I'm interested. His name is Paul Payment. You might know him. I would entertain a motion that we approve Paul Payment as our...
I went and double checked when the meetings were, and
no.
I've got classes.
So I'll be sending out an additional call. Thanks, Brenda. Appreciate it. Thanks, Paul. All right. So out goes another call for faculty on the campus diversity.
It wasn't for lack of desire.
Of course not. Thank you. I appreciate you responding to the call. You were the only faculty member that responded, so I was very excited. So, okay. So let's move on to Measure J then. Pat, this is your agenda item.
Sure. Start with the motion that the Academic Senate at Cypress College expressed its support for the passage of Measure J.
Is there a second for the motion that the Academic Senate support Measure J?
I'll second.
Thank you. Would you like to speak in favor of your motion?
Yes. What I'd like to do is just a couple of things, because I think most of you have heard the arguments for this, why we should pass it. I'd like to address some of the arguments that have been raised against it. If you go to the voter's guide, the official opposition arguments really consist of 2 arguments. The first of which is that the opposition is mad because the passage of bond issues now only requires 55% when it used to require 2/3. Somehow the idea that we are now having not a super majority, but a sub-super majority is bothersome to these individuals. To me, if you're talking about democracy, the fact that it's 55% is still a much higher standard, and why we should disapprove of a measure just because it requires well over 50% is an argument that makes no sense to me whatsoever by that. The second argument that they raise, and this was also raised by the gentleman who spoke earlier, is the cost to the taxpayer. Absolutely, there is a cost to the taxpayer. I'm not about to deny that. But if you figure it out, because it goes on to the property taxes, if you figure it out, the estimate is about $15 per $100,000 of valuation, which means if you are fortunate enough to live in a $1 million home, which I am not, it would cost you approximately $150 extra a year in taxes. Were I fortunate enough to live in a home of that expense, I would feel it well worth it for the advantages that I would gain as a citizen to spend that $150. I'm going to be needing nursing care really soon at my age. I want to be sure that we're producing people who can take care of me in that case. Probably even mortuary science. So to me, it's worth $150. Let me just briefly address a couple of the other arguments. Those are the official ones from the people who have signed on the voter's guide. Let me address a couple of the items that came up from the gentleman here. First, he argued that somehow we should vote against it because students don't know about it. That makes no sense to me at all. Yes, students do not know about it. No, because of the laws, we cannot do much about that. We are prohibited from proselytizing in our classes, and I happen to think that's a good law. But that's what it is. But that's not a reason to vote against it. Secondly, he said that the process lacks clairvoyance and transparency. I admit it lacks clairvoyance. I'm not sure what that means, but... And when the charge about lacking transparency, to me that's pretty vague. We have laid out what it is that we are attempting to do, what is on the list, etc. I think people have a really good idea. He next seemed to argue that the last bond was terrible. Really? That all of the changes that were made with that last bond were terrible, and they were terrible for students? I rather wonder about, and I'm kind of surprised, frankly, that the student government opposed it, since they are now sitting in a building that was built by the last bond. The student services area came out of the last bond. The bookstore came out of the last bond. And buildings like Humanities, which were totally redone, came out of it. How anybody can say that the last bond was terrible and it was useless, etc., and that students weren't helped is beyond me. His final argument seemed to be that we are using the veterans on this, and that sort of is hinted at one of the rebuttal arguments by the opponents on this. Is there a case that perhaps when we're talking about veterans, people think, oh, that's all it is? Yeah, but that's not it. It doesn't deal simply with buildings for the veterans, redoing offices. We sometimes forget that veterans are a major portion of our student population. They are coming back very often with specialized kinds of needs. It is not unusual to find veterans coming back, for example, because of their experiences in the military, wanting to go into areas like health science, or wanting to go into areas like auto mechanics, or wanting to go into areas like air conditioning, etc., aviation, because they had experiences in those and want to pursue a career. So when we're talking about aiding the vets, we're not talking about aiding the vets as an isolated group, but as part of a larger student population who will benefit from changes that are being made in these areas. So if you want to go into the medical area, you need those science facilities that are woefully inadequate now. And I think that is being ignored, that's being cast as just the offices, and that's not what the issue is. So to me, all of the arguments against it just carry no weight. I urge the Senate to express its support of Measure J.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak in opposition to the motion?
I don't have an opposition, but I would like to say that as nursing, it is a little frustrating to us that the measure in the postcard I got to my home, because I live in the district, had a picture of a nurse and a picture of a veteran and was saying that we would be benefiting. We're benefiting indirectly, but we're not benefiting directly. And that is, to me, a little misleading of the public. And that was a little bothersome to me. You know, to have neighbors go, oh, you guys are going to get a new nursing building. Nurses are going to benefit. Well, no, we're not. We're not going to get a building. We're not getting anything. But hopefully, well-qualified students to join our program. So I do understand some of the transparency argument, maybe not in what we're going to spend on it, but in the way it's being advertised. I got a phone call the other day urging me to vote for it because nursing was going to benefit from it. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this keeps going, you know? And it's a little frustrating for us. I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not saying I oppose the measure. I just have some questions about how it's being advertised to the public. I think it's misleading.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the motion? Anyone else?
I just have comments. Richard, I think, mentioned this. I just want to make sure that it is heavily considered. When we did our budget, our X measure X, a lot of problems occurred because of the way it was run. Richard just mentioned hopefully you have somebody that's going to run it better for us. There was also some little side scandals that happened that hopefully will not occur again. I think that in some cases we overspent in some areas and underspent in the others, and we ended up not doing things we said we were going to do. So I just hope it's managed better.
I don't think we have anyone else to speak to it, so I'll ask for the question. Those of you in favor of the motion that the Academic Senate of Cypress College support Measure J, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. Any abstentions? One abstention. The motion carries. Very well. The Board of Trustees will be so happy to hear that we have taken a position. The next item on the agenda, on the reordered agenda, is the Enrollment Management Task Force update. It's scheduled for 5 minutes, and I bet it's going to work in 5 minutes because at 4 o'clock we have a different agenda item.
It's maybe working too. As you guys know, we okayed our participation in the emergency enrollment task force meeting to deal with that grab of classes in the spring because of money that was becoming available. I wanted to say that I know that there were some people who were somewhat suspicious of that process or that was taking place. I actually thought it was a pretty good process. It was very transparent. It was interesting to see how the divisions had come forward and were making their decisions on which classes they were going to take. There did seem to be a great deal of give and take there. Now, the reason why I'm coming back to talk to you is that they had mentioned we are going to have one more meeting of this to sort of finalize some things that's gone through the process. But there was some discussion that this would be a permanent institution that would help in allocating what kind of classes were being done. And I was, when that took place, I specifically remember Jesse talking about this, and I think some others about, is this going to be a permanent thing? Is it just going to be for the spring, or is it going to be a permanent committee? It looks like they want it to be a permanent committee. It's something that we should talk about. It's not something that we necessarily have to make a decision about now. But I just wanted to inform you that it does look like they want to try to institutionalize that. It may not be a bad idea. I'm not saying either way, but it is certainly something that they're going to want to do. And I think after the November meeting that we have of that task force, I'll come back and talk some more about that, seeing what they're going to want to do. But I just wanted to give you a heads up about that.
Thank you very much, because I think I remember Kathleen mentioning we'll definitely want to make sure that there's a CTE faculty representative on that committee if it ends up being a permanent standing committee.
Yeah. We might want to talk about that, as to having there be more widespread, because the reason why we had the people we had now was for the grab of the FTS. So I think that's probably a good idea.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Jesse?
Is there any general procedures or rules on how we set up? This is a shared governance committee, right? Is there some rules that?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to look at with this, and I mean, one of the things that I'd like to do, we have to certainly talk to UF, because there is a process by how which these classes are assigned. It is done through coordinators and deans, and that is something that is fully understood by the task force. Shantanu very much doesn't want to take any kind of overreach and interference into that. But if there was some way that we could sort of put that down on top of that process. So there is some stuff if it's a more permanent thing that we probably want to talk about, and that's certainly some of that.
All right. It is almost the 4 o'clock moment. Do you think we could get to the newsroom in a 10-minute period of time?
No, let's do the newsroom after the 4 o'clock one.
Then, if you don't mind, I ask that the community college bachelor's degree program agenda item be moved to the 4 o'clock time slot. And I want to bring everyone up to date on what happened after our last meeting. I sent out a call to all of the faculty and their programs that might want to participate in the pilot program. I got 3 amazing proposals. One came from Doug for heating, ventilating, air conditioning, and refrigeration. One came from Carol Lee in court reporting, and then one came from mortuary science, Glenn Bauer. So those went out to President's Advisory Cabinet, and at the same time, those went to PAC. Coming from DCCC at the district was additional items that they want us to consider. So I sent these additional items out to those 3 programs that expressed interest, and I asked them to prepare a response to Dr. Liebug's queries regarding alignment with the district's strategic plan, labor market demand, adequate facilities, equipment and technology, sufficient revenue, student success and completion, curriculum currency, and non-duplication of local CSU degree programs. I was at the California Community College Association of Occupational Educators Conference, CCCAOE, met yesterday, today, we'll meet again tomorrow. And this item has come up for discussion, as well as at the regional curriculum meeting last Saturday that Mark and I went to. And it's non-duplication of any CSU, UC, or independent college. It's not just local. Originally, it was local. It is not just local. They clarified that. They clarified that for us repeatedly, that it is any CSU or UC. And it's not just a degree program. It could be a collection of courses that is offered at the CSU or the UCs or in an independent non-CSU, non-UC. So what came out last night, which I can't tell you how timely this was for us to be able to have the conversation today at the CCCAOE, was the request from Dr. Walker, the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, for our district to submit the certification of interest form no later than Wednesday, November 12th. They are only allowed to put 1 program on this line. So that means that we need to have a serious discussion here about what program we would like Cypress College to forward to compete against the Fullerton proposal. At PAC last week, President's Advisory Cabinet said this is a faculty-driven process and we need all faculty on board to help select the best candidate to put forward against whatever Fullerton's proposal is going to be. So that's where we are today, and I invited the program directors to come and speak to the Senate regarding their proposals so that we would have a better idea as to where we might want to focus our strategy. We can only, for the district, put 1 program forward, and there are 2 that are being discussed over at Fullerton. They are also being asked to select 1 to put forward. We're being asked to select 1 to put forward. That will go to DCC, and then it will go to the Board of Trustees. So we've got our work cut out for us. Mark?
As far as I know, and I haven't, this new timeline is coming a little bit of a surprise to me, but at the DCCC meeting, I think I said this before, Jolena, it was, may not still be quite the same intention, right, that the DCCC was in the process, which I serve on, to create a protocol to make that final assessment for the district, which one would go forward. Secondarily, my only other concern, and it's conjectural, and of course my colleagues may be able to answer that very effectively, it's just my only other concern, it's not a criticism, just a concern, is that once this, if it is to be vested into the pilot program, which I presume will be part of their concern as well to deduce, which is what will be the accrediting body for this baccalaureate program, and will there be one? Is there going to be, depending on the choice of that program, will there be some kind of accrediting body that can, in effect, contextually have that relationship to that? Will there be? Is there one in existence that can effectively do that? And that's all, really.
That was one of the items that was brought up at the CCC AOE this morning. The reason why they're limiting it to one bachelor's degree program per district is that is already within the provision of the ACCJC to allow for it.
Or if somebody's on a baccalaureate level?
Yes.
Whoa.
It's already provided in the ACCJC, which is why it was limited to one district. So I thought that was interesting news that they shared with us. So I'll take these in alphabetical order. Everyone should have received, because I sent them out to you, the proposal from heating, ventilating, air conditioning, and refrigeration. So Doug, would you like to speak to your proposal?
Sure. We're proposing a bachelor's degree for air conditioning, refrigeration, engineering. There is not a program west of the Mississippi in any of the Cal States or UCs specifically, but generally in the western United States there is no program. We think that's important to have a specialized program in air conditioning and refrigeration. Now, what happens is they get mechanical engineers and try and turn them into air conditioning engineers, and it's a specialized field. We have the facilities on campus. We're going to use our existing air conditioning refrigeration facilities. We're going to lean heavily on science, engineering, math to expand our math offering, our physics, our general engineering classes that we'll have to offer, as well as, since it's a bachelor's degree, we'll have English and other classes. So it's going to reach across campus to all the other various departments and divisions. What else have we got?
Do you have anything prepared for us that we might be able to
Oh, yeah,
consider?
well, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, the questions that passes around.
Thank you. These are the secondary items that I asked them to address based on what came out of DCCC. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No worries. Specifically, environmental engineering, which is sort of what we're talking about, is one of the fastest growth occupations that the state has recognized. They predict a 28% growth in this career field in the next 10 years. We're combining this with the air conditioning, refrigeration, and engineering and sustainable technologies. It's all a part of efficient energy use, and air conditioning is one of the industries that will benefit from that. Like I said, there's no duplication because nothing exists. They wanted some information on how many bachelor's degrees we thought we could get, and there's nothing, there is no data, so it's going to be hard to predict that. But our program
Can I ask a question then?
Yes.
Because that was one of the things that was brought up this morning. They said the best predictor of future degrees is current degrees. Could you tell us how many degrees have been awarded in this area at our level in, say, the last 2 years, 5 years?
Our bachelor's degrees.
Associate degrees.
Associate degrees.
Right.
Associate science degrees. I believe we've had 5 this last year. We had a total of 100 certificates and degrees, an increase over the last 3 or 4 years of going from 9 to 100. So we've had a huge expansion in certificates and degrees. We would pull not only from Cypress, we would pull from all of Southern California, because obviously we don't have enough students to support a program like this. But there are 6 or 7 different air conditioning refrigeration programs in Southern California and going out into the desert areas that we could certainly pull from, and we think that we could fully support a program like that.
Very good. Anyone have any questions for Doug?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How necessary, I'm looking over some of this, and how necessary is the BA for this versus some of the other things that you already do?
Well, what we try, we have a path for students to get a bachelor's degree, but it's in industrial technology. It's not in air conditioning and refrigeration. So they only take the freshman, sophomore air conditioning classes, and they don't expand beyond that. We have a number of contractors, OEMs, and engineers that have told us that if we had a program, they would certainly hire those people, but it just doesn't exist now. So they're having, like I said, they're having to take mechanical engineers and retrain them for air conditioning because it's such a special. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I think, is there a program nationally that exists the other side of Mississippi in this area? I thought I heard that there might be. Am I wrong? An existing program in Bachelor of Science in Air Conditioning.
Ferris State.
That's what I'm just asking.
Penn State has one.
Right. Okay, and that's what you were saying. You're trying to use their model for the upper division courses.
We're using that as a template.
That's what I'm trying to understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Following Mark's question, compared to those other programs, established paid program, BS whatever program, bachelor programs, what are the additional, how many additional requirements or specialized classes are needed or they have compared to what is offered here?
Yeah, we'd probably have another 20 units of specialized air conditioning classes beyond the freshman, sophomore classes that we offer now. In addition to physics, math, and some of the other general engineering knowledge that they have to have.
Doug, how many other heating, air conditioning programs are there in community colleges right now that could potentially be putting forward a baccalaureate degree proposal?
Well, I know that El Camino is going to be putting one forward. Mount Sac may put one forward. They're all in the Los Angeles region, so they're kind of separate from us. But those are two that I'm pretty sure will try to do the same thing. And truthfully, I think that only one program could support the graduates. So if somebody else got that program in this beta phase, then we'd be dead because there's no way that we could have two bachelor's programs competing against each other in Southern California.
They said there would not be two within the state. So there will only be one. So if you know that other proposals...
But if they got it in the beta phase, then
yes,
we'd be excluded, yeah.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Will this tie into any green energy jobs or things of that nature?
Yes, and we're trying to combine that with our energy and sustainable technology program because it's all about energy efficiency in air conditioning and being able to generate power and use that for these other things. Yes?
Do you have students that are currently in the AA stage that have expressed interest?
Well, we're AS, but
yes. AS?
Yes. We have a number of students that have, and it's a tough go for them because if they go into the mechanical engineering, we're algebra-based, that's calculus-based. The bachelor's degree we're suggesting is algebra-based. So they lose everything they had here and they have to go over to Pomona, for instance, to get a mechanical engineering degree. They have to start all over from scratch. Really, they can get their general ed stuff transferred, but none of the rest of it does.
We'll come back to here once we finish over on this side. Yes.
How about all of the engineering programs at the CSU and the UC that are environmental engineering as opposed to mechanical? Are they algebra-based? Are they not?
No, they're calculus-based.
Okay.
This is more of an engineering technology program than an engineering, a true engineering program.
Okay. I'd be concerned we'd be duplicating because there's a lot of environmental engineering majors out there in a lot of schools. So that, I don't know. Would that be duplicating some?
There really aren't a lot of environmental engineering programs. Certainly not in California.
Fed has one. UC Berkeley has one. They're out there.
In environmental engineering?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll check and see, but I tell you, we looked pretty hard and we haven't found any that were even close to doing any air conditioning refrigeration stuff.
Probably not that, but in title.
Yeah, my question was, you started to address that when you said engineering technology more than engineering, because when I hear the word engineering, I mean, I know my degree is in electrical engineering. I had to take 7 semesters of math to get my EE. So the math required, I mean, right now we stop at 250B. That's our highest level of math. And that's really only sophomore math in terms of being an engineer. So to have when I heard engineering, I'm like, really? We're going to we're gonna have junior and senior level math classes, there's gonna be like one kid in them. I mean, so help me understand. Help me understand when you say engineering technology, if it's an engineering degree, I'm trying to wrap my mind around the fact that it's not a calculus-based engineering. I don't understand exactly what that means.
You take calculus, but it's not as calculus, there's no differential equations, there's none of that. I mean, there's a terminal calculus class that you take, and that's where it stops.
So it stops at calculus.
I think there was one more copy. Yes, ma'am.
I just, you said that there were some students in the pipeline to take the bachelor's degree program, but you didn't say how many. How many students would be, do you have an idea?
I'm sure that we can support a program of 20 students. That's sort of our limit in the lab. Safety-wise, we can't have any more than 20 students. So certainly our initial cohort of students would be 20. Yeah. And I feel certain that we could fill that with the programs that are around.
Have you gotten any input from employers about if the graduates with the AS are lacking in what employers want or need? And also, a second part of that question, are there any comparisons between nationwide companies hiring a BS over an AS comparisons?
There's no comparisons to that I'm aware of. We're on our advisory committee. We have some of the largest mechanical contractors, certainly in Southern California, probably in the United States. And every one of them said that if we had a bachelor's degree for engineering technology specializing in air conditioning refrigeration, they would certainly have places for any of the graduates that we would have.
Talking about that, so would these people, you're talking about engineering technology type of focus, would it be people that would ultimately sit for the PE exam? Sure. Okay, and so they would be getting the engineering, a set engineering job?
You don't need an engineering degree to sit for the PE.
Yeah. But do you see these people sitting for the PE exam and then getting an engineering type of job?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I had a two-part question. From my research, it looks like the Cal Berkeley Extension offers a certificate in HVAC.
Certificate, yes.
From my reading and understanding of SB 850, it says that there cannot be any overlap in any bachelor's degree programs or curricula offered by any UCs or Cal States, and I'm not sure I was wondering if you knew if that overlapped with what they offer, and if that would run into any problems.
I don't. I'm not sure if it would run into any problems. That's a certificate, not a degree.
But it's still, the law still says you can't, any curriculum.
So what? Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll have to address that because a college could offer one class and they could call that an overlap and then throw the whole thing out. So that doesn't seem fair to me, but I guess it's possible.
And then the other part was if Cal Berkeley is offering the certificate program, not even an associate's program, and they have the opportunity to offer a bachelor's program, it seems that they don't see the need for a bachelor's program, and then why would this one be chosen?
I don't know. They're in Berkeley, I guess.
All right. If you remember, originally we were going to leave the time limits in place. Is there a motion to extend the time on this item to allow for the other two programs to present their information? 2 minutes left. Take us up. Pass this motion.
I'll move to extend it 10 more minutes.
Very well. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on it, extending this discussion for another 10 minutes?
Can we give each program equal time?
Oh, so are you amending the motion instead of 10 minutes that it be equal time?
Equal time.
Equal time. Is there a second for that motion that would amend the original motion not to 10 minutes but to equal time?
Second.
Is there any discussion on equal time as an amendment to the motion?
What is that?
I thought you would know.
We've used 17, or what was it, 20 minutes? We've used 17 minutes roughly, 17 and a half minutes for not all of that. I'm not sure when Doug started speaking, to be perfectly honest with you.
We start around 4, right?
Would 15 minutes be better?
Okay.
So I'd rather, because I don't know what equal time is.
Okay.
Kathleen.
Yeah, no, I agree. 15.
15 for each program?
Sure.
Okay.
If needed.
If needed. Okay. Is there a second to the amendment that we provide 15 minutes for each program? A second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of extending the time for this agenda item by 15 minutes for each program?
By 15 or 2?
No, it's equal time, so each program would have an additional 15 minutes.
15 additional.
Because it would be equal time, and if Doug has had 17 and a half minutes, that would give 15 minutes for court reporting and 15 minutes for mortuary science, should they need it.
Are we voting on this now?
It's an amendment to the motion, so all those in favor of the amendment to the motion, not for 10 minutes, but for 15 minutes for each program, which would be a total of 30 minutes that we're adding to this agenda item.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We've got,
Jesse, Mark, and me.
okay.
Okay.
Therefore, the amendment passes. We will extend this as the main motion. We would extend this for 15 minutes for each additional program. Anyone want to speak on the main motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very well then. Moving on, we'll go to court reporting. Carolee, would you like to address your proposal?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for taking their time today to listen. The court reporting program is a very unique program here at Cypress College, and most of you have heard about some of the problems we've had in the past few years with the program. But the program itself right now is starting to grow again, and it's looking really rosy in the labor market. We've done a labor market survey, and by 2018 there's predicted to be a huge shortage of court reporters and captionists in the state. I want to make my report really short because of the fact that something that came up just last week with Jolena changed the whole playing field here. But I did want to say that everything existing at Cypress right now, we would be able to expand the program, offer the bachelor's degree program. There is no other program in Southern California that offers court reporting. All of the public institutions have gone by the wayside. We are the only game in town south of Bakersfield. There's 3 other programs north of Bakersfield that are a public program. There are no public no public universities offering court reporting in California. The closest one is in New York. It would be a very, very unique program. What I did want to say after talking to Jolena is that we found out quite by accident that there's a program in Northern California that is a independent private school that offers court reporting. And I would not want to throw my program into the mix because of the fact that we would be rejected right away because of that. I think that our best shot is going with something that no one else offers in the state. And then as Jolena explained to me, we could come back on the second round with the court reporting. And I really appreciate your indulgence in this because we've done a lot of research. And I just think that it's better to go with something that's going to get through the first time and hold back on our program. Okay. Mark?
My only question, Curly, again, is, I apologize if I'm not that knowledgeable. It's just a question, is there a court reporting program on, I guess it would be a BS level, anywhere in the nation?
One in New York and the private school in Northern California. Yeah.
It's actually bachelor's level?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
I appreciate it. All right.
Took longer to get to 15 minutes.
Well, good afternoon. The mortuary science program, as I stated 2 weeks ago, there are 8 existing programs in the country that offer a baccalaureate level Bachelor of Science in mortuary science. There are only 2 schools currently in California, both are public, American River and Cypress College, that offer the associate level degree. There are already in place, Cypress College, we have 2 articulation agreements with existing programs, so our students already have a pipeline to go out of state to get their baccalaureate. That would be actually piggybacked. We would take that framework and bring it in-house. The 2 schools, University of Central Oklahoma In Edmonds, Oklahoma, they have a baccalaureate degree program. Our students still would have to go there currently. They take out-of-state tuition along with about a year and a half of coursework, and then they are eligible for their baccalaureate degree. The other school is actually in Canton, New York, upstate New York. That's a completely online program, but again, they are paying out-of-state tuition for those classes in order to get their baccalaureate. So our idea would be, since we have that framework already in place, plus the 6 other schools that offer the baccalaureate degree, we would take their information, bring it in-house. The facilities we already have. Our degree right now is a 75-unit degree, Associate of Science degree, and what we're looking at is increasing that to about the 120. So that's about 15 classes, technical, along with classes across campus in terms of English and math and science and the psych and the soc. So the facilities are fine. We actually have agreements with our advisory board. We've met with them several times talking about this proposal and this idea. And we have 2 of the largest mortuaries on the West Coast, Rose Hills and Whittier, being the largest mortuary cemetery facility in the United States, along with the Forest Lawn Company, to help in that continuation, using their facilities along with the resources to have that relationship. So it builds on the community involvement as well as per the district's strategic plan. In terms of student-wise, we've been averaging about 36 graduates from our MS degree program a year, and we've been talking with students over the past 3 to 4 years of this possibility, and by far the majority of students, anywhere between 25 and 30 of those 36, are highly interested in this, coming back to campus, getting their degree in that regard. So we have that student interest. We have the advisory board, our employer interest as well. In terms of other things, according to the State Educational Development Department, they're projecting an increase between 12 and 25% job growth, and that's independent from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. For the next 10 years out, they're anticipating that much growth in this industry. By having a baccalaureate here, the graduates would actually be employable nationwide. They would actually be meeting the requirements for licensure in all 50 states. So it won't be just limited to a job market here in Southern California or even in the state. We're talking it'd be affecting the job market nationwide. And we've had, over the last 15 years since I've been on campus, we've had actually about 45 people that have completed our certificate program, our degree program, trying to get licensed in other states, especially those states that require baccalaureate degree programs. And because of the corporate entity of the business, the management is moved from place to place at times when needed, and many of those students or graduates that only have an associate's, unfortunately, they're limited in managerial facilities in those states that only accept associates. They're not allowed to go out any further. So this program would be very vital in terms of supplying more management, more employees on a well-rounded database across the country.
Since I did all this research, I have a question. What's going to happen? You said there's another college that offers this in California?
American River, yes.
What happens, Jolene? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what happens if we both offer?
I believe you can address that.
We will pick one. The state will pick, there won't be 2. So what happens right now, both schools are accredited. We pull actually from all over the state. We actually have students from Northern California coming down. The program in American River, they pull as much from across the state. They only enter students once a year. We offer students entrance twice a year at that. But we've been already talking about the collaboration, and our idea was a mutual support. Whichever program gets the nod, the other program would be supportive of that. So in terms of sending students to that other program, we're farther in the pipeline in terms of progress. We're farther along than the other school is. The other school has a department of one faculty member, and then multiple adjuncts. We have a department of 3 faculty members and multiple adjuncts. So we have more resources. And the other program director was an adjunct at this campus for a while, and he's already conceded that we have more resources available as of right now.
So you've had a discussion with the program director? at
I
that
have had a
program?
discussion with the program director, yes.
Do you know whether or not they plan on pursuing?
They would like to. He, at the time of our discussion, he said he wanted to go forward with it, but he had not even conversed with his advisory board yet. So he doesn't know. He knows his administration wants it. He knows he wants it. He has not met the in-between goal. He says he thinks he has students, but he's not sure of how many students.
Any other questions, Mark?
This is similar to the conversation we were having about math with regards to the air conditioning technology. Do the other departments on campus currently offer the courses that your upper division students would require, like biological courses, psychology, things like that, or is it all lower div stuff?
As of right now, our entry requirement is a biology 210 class to come in. We require the college level algebra class to come in. We require the English 100. On top of that, other classes that I'm looking at would be an advanced psych class, an advanced sociology class. In terms of science-wise, we would need to add another chemistry class for in-depth chemistry, maybe a pathophysiology class.
And are those classes, those are not currently offered?
No, a lot of them are currently.
They are, okay.
They are,
You just add them
yeah.
to your program.
We would just add them in, correct.
Mark, one other thing they mentioned this morning is that the CSUs don't have a clear idea as to where the delineation is between upper division and lower division. So until the CSUs can delineate what is upper and lower division. So the example they gave us this morning is one of their junior level courses is Introduction to Philosophy. And for us, that is a freshman level course. So there's even some question at the CSUs as to what constitutes upper division gen ed. It's one of the things that is within the SB 850 that they will have to have a general ed pattern agreed on before the community colleges would be able to go forward. They believe, from what was presented this morning, it would be about 36 units of general education in total. So for the entire degree, right now, there's a requirement that I have been told that the minimum is 18 units of general education at an associate degree level. This would double that if we were to offer the baccalaureate. But again, the CSUs are working with the ICAS, I think is the acronym for it. It's the intersegmental coordinating group between CSUs, UCs, and the community colleges to come up with what is upper division gen ed.
Right.
So.
I was actually speaking less about gen ed though.
Oh, okay.
If there were specific things that your field required that perhaps were higher level than some of our associates programs offered, and it sounds like that's not.
Well, we have the technical classes above and beyond what I'm looking.
Within the major.
Within the major, yes.
Sure. You would expand those,
Yes.
but like, are you putting expectations on the other departments on campus that they are able and willing to meet?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm definitely looking at the resources of using the other divisions, the departments to help with it where they can, whether it be with general ed or in the technical. If it's in the sociology and the psychology, if I need to tap into the psych department using them to help out with us, yes, that's what I'm looking at. But everything could be done here on campus. Yep.
Yeah, I think we're trying to clarify the same thing. We want to make sure. So right now, your students, when they get their AS, they have to go to the Math 141 level, is that right?
Math 40.
Oh, just Math 40.
Just a grad
And so for the BS then, what would the math requirement be? How would that change?
We would raise it incrementally in conjunction with what our science is doing. For example, the amount of detail within the preparation room, within the restorative art room, mixing our chemicals, doing facial reconstruction measurements, along with doing our merchandising and our marketing strategies in terms of quartile distribution pricing. So we'd be working in that conjunction.
Because I would think if we're going to offer a bachelor's degree, there should at least be a college level math course in there. Because Math 40 is not college level. I mean, Math 40 is, it satisfies the AA or AS requirement, but it's actually a high school level class. So I would think if somebody's getting a bachelor's degree, we should be expecting that person to take a college-level math class, and I don't know if you have thought about what that math class would be.
That was part of the general education
That's what I was
discussion I was
gonna say.
mentioning this morning, is once the CSUs have defined what the general education protocol is for lower division, upper division, the community colleges, all of them would have to follow the same protocol. So.
But it doesn't sound like whatever it would be is beyond what we're already teaching. It's certainly
It
not
doesn't-
going
no,
to
it
be
doesn't
beyond,
sound like
it's not going to be beyond calculus 4. So we got you covered in terms of that, but we have to think about, because our classes are so impacted, so we would have to think about class space and where these classes are going to be taught and what they would be. There's an impact. We're happy to do it, but I didn't know if there was some level of understanding about what the classes would be that you would need.
I've been told that that will be part of the presentation on Tuesday night, that Dr. Charlie Bug is trying to work out as many things as possible to provide the Board of Trustees with an idea of what upper division courses would have to be developed on the general education side, what upper division courses would need to be developed on the program side as well. So I don't think we have that clarity yet.
I was just gonna say that obviously what you said before, I'm just saying it to you, is that those math classes are simply integrated into the levels of science classes that he's proposing that they would have to take. So in other words, they can't get into that science class if they don't take the prerequisite math class, or I guess co-requisite math class, if such a thing existed, that would be, allow them to succeed in that course. And then I forgot, but you're right, because this is kind of a CSU umbrella, the CSU system has going to have to say to the, the protocols for establishing this upper division course. I never even thought about that, but you went to that meeting and found that out.
Yeah.
So we'll find out. But it is a pilot program, and more power for you to get this bond passed, right? To solve your space facility issue in terms of offering additional sections to support this. So.
Hey man, I just would like to have an office whose doors locked.
Are there any other questions for any of our 3 program proposals? A question, ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
No, I would just like to appeal to the Senate on behalf of Mortuary Science, if possible. Thank you. My name is Yasmin Haruchi. I'm currently a first semester student here at Cypress College in the Mortuary Science program. I am here to express my desire for a baccalaureate degree in mortuary science and will appeal to the Senate on a more personal level. Funeral service has been placed in my heart for as long as I can recall. I did not choose funeral service, it chose me. It is my calling in this lifetime, and I speak on behalf of my fellow students with the utmost confidence that our passion for this career is deep set. It is a service that cannot be decided upon by mere speculation. One simply cannot wake up one morning and decide to become a funeral professional out of nowhere. The desire to serve, comfort, to assist, and encourage are innate. I see incredible potential in my fellow classmates to grow on these abilities that have been placed within them. We were just discussing the subject of goals and motivation in our thanatology class this afternoon. In understanding our abilities and limitations, we realize the need to grow in our craft. Providing higher education for mortuary science students allows us not only the opportunity for further knowledge, but more quality knowledge to better help the families that we will eventually serve. Our future clients deserve the best care during what is possibly the darkest time in their lives. They deserve the peace of mind to trust us as professionals to plan an event that will memorialize their loved one forever. Having a baccalaureate degree available to us as mortuary science students is greatly beneficial not only to us, but to those that will eventually walk through our doors. Thank you.
Let's do it. Our time on this item is almost to a close, and I need some resolution to take to DCC as well as provide to the president. I am willing to entertain a motion from the Senate in terms of what program you would like to put forward. And, oh, there it is. My time is up. So is there a motion in support of one of our 3 proposals?
Could I ask a question before we get to that?
Sure.
Do we have any idea what programs Fullerton's going to propose?
I do not. I have been told one is in construction and the other one is in public safety. But I do not know what the actual programs are. That's the only
In
information.
the area of construction or
Yeah.
being built?
So they mentioned to us that public safety was one of the items that they were considering. Well, if it's an administration of justice degree, it's a duplication. So I'm not sure where they're going with the public safety umbrella that would make it unique or different. For construction, I cannot tell you if it's construction technology. They did not have that type of clarity when it was presented. So I do not know what Fullerton is bringing forward. Does anyone have?
All I can say is that you will see the candidates who are now at the table were not mentioned. That's, I mean, but that, it wasn't a comprehensive list. But at DCCC, the two areas that are now on the table were not mentioned. That's all I remember.
Just out of curiosity, do you know, Doug, does it have any overlap with your, if it's construction, would it be anything related to HVAC or?
No, kind of two separate
They don't
disciplines.
have an HVAC, their construction program or whatever it is, construction related, it's not HVAC.
We definitely don't have mortuary science, I assume, is that correct?
That's correct. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
One question. How would that affect for mortuary science, like our faculty that teaches that if we have a pilot program, the degree requirement, does that affect any of our faculty or anything
They
like that?
discussed that this morning at CCC AOE, and no, there wouldn't be a change. The minimum quals to teach within the community college system already establish a master's degree, so it would not require any additional, including the upper division gen ed. They said that you would be teaching it with a master's degree, a doctorate would not be required. So that was one thing that they clarified for us this morning.
I'd like to move, I've talked to Doug, and I think he's willing to concede that we would go in the second round, and we'd like to make sure that we have a successful program going forward. So I'd like to move that we give the nod to mortuary science.
Is there a second? A second? All right. With that being said, before I allow you to speak to your motion, I should mention one of the other things that they mentioned this morning is that there is a midterm report due as part of SB 850, which is only 3 years into the program. The midterm report that would be 3 years into the program would be in 2020. They believe that if initial success is shown within the first 3 years, that they would open it to additional programs before the end of the pilot program. One other thing that was mentioned this morning is if you are rolling associate degree candidates into your baccalaureate program, you could potentially have 3 cohort starts within that period of time, whereas those programs that are considering just starting them out at the first level would only be able to get 1 cohort through in the initial pilot program. So those were some things that they wanted us to consider in our regional meetings as well. So with that being said, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think enough's been said.
Okay. Is there anyone in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Not in opposition, just a comment. And I'd like to say this because I'm the one who raised the issue last time about being very reluctant to move ahead in support of a program when we hadn't considered any of the others. We hadn't really had an opportunity to do that. And I said at the time it was not in opposition to mortuary science. I personally feel much better about whatever decision I think that we're probably going to make now. When other departments had an opportunity to come forward, to investigate things, etc. I think we benefited from the opportunity to ask these kinds of questions, looking potentially in future situations. I appreciate the responses of the people from both court reporting and air conditioning saying, looking at it after we've discussed it, after we've done our research in comparison, we think maybe there's a different way to go and we're pulling out for whatever reason, etc. But I think the process was better here. And I think it's an advancement in that way. And yes, it took us more time, but I think whatever decision we're making is a better decision for that. So I just wanted to say that.
And I'd also like to extend my thanks to Doug and Carolee for being here, presenting the information, and doing such a phenomenal job on a very, very short notice to get us all the information that we needed. Thank you very, very much.
Call the previous motion.
Very well. The motion on the floor is to endorse and advance the mortuary science program for...
They all agree with calling the previous question.
Yeah. Very well then, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hey.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Is there a second to the call?
Second.
Fantastic, it is. It is not debatable. All those in favor of calling the question and ending discussion on this agenda item say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Therefore, the motion on the floor would be to propose to the North Orange County Community College District the inclusion of the mortuary science program in the certification of interest. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. It is 4:40, and you will notice that we had an agenda item set specifically for 4:40, the Exchange Scholarship Program. Brian, I believe this is your agenda item.
It is my agenda item, and I am going to indulge the Senate by not actually presenting it, because I cannot do as good of a job of it as Mary A. Takahashi can, or Christy Deep, who can offer some insight into this.
Please.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you. I reserved seats right up in front for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, hi, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to go in. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm here to ask each one of you to help a project I've been working for many years. And it's about international student exchange program with Japanese university in Japan. They are all for us, as a matter of fact. But the thing is, I don't get that exact answer from administration. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the reason. But anyway, today, I wrote it down in a letter form there to you, and then Christy is going to help me to read it. So while she's reading it, I will do some little things, and then hopefully I have a time to accept your questions regarding this international student exchange program. So I have this, and please,
Okay.
thank you for your help.
Okay. I am here to respectfully ask you to support a project I have been successfully working on for a few years now. My proposal today is in regards to our pending International Student Exchange Program. This is a rare opportunity that can occur at Cypress College in tandem with Kyushu Sangyo University, or at KSU. I hope to receive your approval today. The current proposal by KSU is to send one full-time student per year to Cypress College, while Cypress College will send 2 Japanese students representing language arts to KSU per year for 6 months each. On top of that, Cypress College students will receive a monthly stipend of about $400 for their scholarship to encourage students to help establish themselves, if they choose, with experiences in a future global society. KSU is currently seeking development of language communication for Japanese students, and my goal has always been a focus with Cypress College students' advancement in Japanese language and its respective culture. I have personally maintained a strong relationship with KSU for over the past 11 years with the participation of Cypress College students with a summer program that has an extremely reasonable minimum cost of travel and expenses while in Japan. Every past year in June, students participate in working along with KSU students in the ongoing Japan summer program, which had originally started in 2004 at KSU. The program today has created tangible and rare educational opportunities for both Cypress College and KSU students. The overall response from both institutions has been to this day overwhelmingly positive. In fact, many past students have benefited greatly since the program began. It has truly inspired a great deal of unique cultural experiences and has continued to forward expressions of goodwill within present cross-cultural adaptations, and has offered experiences to create more enlightened international awareness along with newfound friendships. However, my attempts to expand the summer program to an exchange program for both KSU students and Cypress College students have been difficult. As a private university, KSU offers a 4-year curriculum along with graduate courses and a doctoral program for approximately 16,750 students. KSU continues to maintain their status as a well-known and well-respected institution in Japan to this day. For example, their fine arts department has been uniquely credited with producing exceptional graduates for such industries within major film and mainstream entertainment groups. Japanese traditional art and award-winning animation artists with world-famous video game development and other such exceptional programs. Traditionally, KSU is well known for establishing field pottery creation known as Arita porcelain, which has an exclusive brand name known worldwide as Noritake porcelain. To note, KSU collaborated and established a research center and one of the few classic kilns for Arita porcelain, which is built on their campus. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to go in order here. Okay, and so why not be the best example of the community colleges in the U.S. with this innovative opportunity to go along with an established 4-year university in Japan? Again, academic senate, fellow educators, let's be optimistic and positive about our future for education. I look to you for guidance and support in rescuing what I truly believe to be a worthwhile international academic image that we have been working hard to establish, and preserving what has been seen as a shining example of international cooperation between the two fine institutions in search of and benefit for the students' overall educational life experiences. And sincerely, Mari Takahashi.
And I'm assuming here, because we of course have no authority to authorize a program like this, but you were seeking that the Senate would support something like this so that you knew that the Senate had support, or that the Senate was supporting something like this, so it may help you if you were attempting to arrange this with people who were higher up than us. Is that correct? Correct. So that's sort of a sense of approval of this sort of thing, so that it's been through us, we were supportive of the idea, and she still has lots of work to do to actually get it implemented. But
so are you proposing a motion so that we would be able to take some action on this item?
yes, I actually move that we lend our support to Mary further exploring the creation of this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, Mr. Maker of the motion?
This really is, we're not going to be able, we're not going to do this. I mean, it's obviously not something that is under our purview to be able to set up something like this. But Maria had expressed to me that she's had some issues, just some walls that have come up. And when she talked to me about this, I figured that was probably the best that we could do. And I even said I'm not sure what weight that carries. But it's something that we can do just to say, yeah, this is the type of thing that we would support. This seems like a really good idea for lots of the reasons that were laid out, and why not support her exploring that further?
Jesse, are you speaking in opposition?
No, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
This may not be a fair question, but what are we talking about in terms of cost here? Are we talking about paying for the students to go over there and giving them a scholarship? You know, what are we talking about?
Okay, financial part of it. First of all, exchange student program is that, let's say, as they are proposing, 2 students from Cypress College will go there. And then 1 student comes over, or each one has 6 months stay. And then 1 student comes as a full-time student here from KSU. Then, meantime, 2 students, Cypress College students, will pay their tuition here at the Cypress College, and then fly to Japan, and then take over this KSU students' paid money. In other words, as far as the tuition is concerned, it's really like this, because it's like a USC, let's put it this way. But then, so these students don't have to pay any tuition, actually. I mean, you know, the opposite places. But then Cypress College student will pay for this school's tuition. and then KSU, I'm repeating though, KSU student will pay his or her tuition there, so that the Cypress College student, 2 students can take over. However, your question is accurate. As far as the flight is concerned, I think student is responsible for that. Okay, and then lodging and food, of course. So that's why KSU is willing to give Cypress College students $400 per month, because rent fee for a room is like $300.
Anyone want to speak in opposition to the motion? Pat?
Well, I'm not sure it's really in opposition to the motion, but I'm not sure what the motion really does, because I understand the motion is that we support Marie in pursuing and exploring the possibilities. Well, I don't know that she needs support to explore something further. I think she would need support when she comes forward with something on it. And at this point, I'm unsure exactly what the nature of the program is that we're being asked to support. And we're getting some kind of idea in the finances here, but not that. I mean, for example, I don't even know if the ESL people the department has been talked to. Does this involve ESL? Surely they should be considered. I don't know exactly what it is. So I'm reluctant to say I'm supporting exploring, because nobody would need anything for that. And I'd hate to see it interpreted as we're saying, therefore, we support whatever goes forward. I don't want to do that until I have a clear idea of what the nature of the program is that we would actually be being asked to support.
Okay, our time is up on this item. We do have a motion on the floor. What is the pleasure of the Senate?
A friendly amendment. I think you said, could you read this amendment?
That we would lend support to Mary A. to further explore this program.
I'm fine. But it really just says explore it.
And actually, the reason why we need to do this is because she's had doors slammed.
Yeah.
She can't explore this. She keeps getting told no. We're saying we're supporting her exploring this, and perhaps that will open up a door for her.
Not exactly, no.
Oh, okay. No, that's
But there's a small, because memorandum was sent in from KSU last year in October. This is October this year. It's been 1 year. Nothing has moved. Of course, in between, there are different things came in, so perhaps administration will be maybe taken care of. I don't know. But as far as this international student exchange program is concerned, they really came strong, because I told them, well, we want to have a friendly relationship with you, Cypress College, their Cypress College. It's not going to work. So you're going to have to pinpoint. That's the way America wants to, see it. So they came with that idea. How about exchange student program? But then, with that handout, they already have other universities in the world, Europe and all that. But still, they pick Cypress College. Simple reason is that they love Cypress College students.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we did decide at the outset of our meeting that we were going to stay within our time constraints. So is there anyone proposing a motion to extend the time on this item? Therefore, I will entertain a motion to call the question. Very well, is there a second? It's not debatable. To end discussion on this item, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Very well then, the motion would be the Cypress College Academic Senate lends support to Mary A. to further explore this program. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? Very well. Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is the Cypress Newsroom hours, and this is Brian's item as well.
And there are, you have stayed around for that, right? I want to echo some of the things. This has been something that's been, that Robert Mercer had put on the agenda a couple of times ago. It's been a lingering issue, and he actually would be here to talk about it, but there's some other issues that he is under that we may agendize and talk about at another time. But this specifically does deal with some restrictions that have taken place to the access of the newsroom, and also to, as was stated, the AS use of their rooms. There's been a tradition here that our elected AS leaders and editors of the Chronicle were to have their own offices, their own keys. That was a system that existed for a while. And that worked well, but it's been steadily restricted, first taking away office spaces, taking away keys, finding workarounds with that, having restrictions for having to have a person, sort of an advisor there at different times. And there's been some odd equations of using reassigned time, using office hours to try to allow Robert to be able to fully staff the newsroom. But a new problem that they have deals with line of sight and line of sight rules that apply. As many of you know, you have to be able to sort of see the people who are in your classroom. He had referenced something to me. I actually cannot believe that this happened, so I am dubious about it, but apparently there was a person who was actually docked pay because they went to the bathroom. They were told that they were supposed to actually close the lab, get everybody out, go to the bathroom, and then reopen it. Which, if that is true, seems ridiculous, and if that's the sort of rubric that's being used to make some of these other decisions, we might want to look at this. Essentially, what Robert had wanted us to address were three basic questions. If the student government in the newsroom offices are not classes, why do classroom rules apply? Do they? Are these actual classrooms, or are they resources, or some other kind of thing? They may fall under the category of instructional space. If student government and newsroom offices are classes, then how can administration violate classroom hours that are set by the instructor? If Robert Mercer sets some hours on his classroom, the hours that he wants to set on that classroom is actually being said that he can't because of certain restrictions, one of which is needing to have a potty break after 2 hours, which is supposedly now, I guess, how they're working that out. And then the third thing is that under Measure J, the district literature promotes the bond will build spaces for students, but why do we need such spaces if the administration is not willing to staff those spaces? There are a few things that he's suggested. One is that we could pass a resolution in the future next time to have the administrator have staff minders, people who would actually be able to be on site as chaperones, if you will, for our adult students. We could pass a resolution that directs administrators to build a true student union that allows a single person to monitor surrounding spaces of government, journalism, club meetings. Apparently he's discussed that with the president. He's actually all for something like that. And he says, or we could simply pass a resolution that we trust our student leaders. But this is an issue that has cut into literally half of the time that used to be available. About 40 hours a week used to be available. Now it's been cut down to 20 for various restrictions here. And it just put a crimp on the ability to cut out divergence, to do some of the other things that is being done in the journalism department. And I just hope that those restrictions won't apply to these guys coming here and videotaping these things. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm worried about, that they're going to cut you guys even more. And I know that you've had an issue with the space being inadequate for a long time, and that finally got taken care of. But one hand gives, the other hand takes away, sort of thing that you're dealing with. I wanted to definitely have this thing discussed and put out publicly, because I think that it's an issue that needed to be talked about. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I think that there are some things here in terms of resolution, stuff that we actually might want to do with this that we can't present today. I don't even have a full narrative of what that might be or where he wants to go with it. But I know he definitely wants to have this issue officially brought before the Senate and discussed. And I would love to defer the rest of that, if I could, to the student who's here to speak for them.
Well, I have a question about this issue, because we have similar issues. This line of sight, and journalism, is it a class, is it not a class? Well, we have student designers who cannot go in and work in the theater unless they have their adjunct supervisor there with them, which greatly restricts them being able to do the design, because they can only do it during a lot of classroom time, and designs take a lot more time than that. So I guess the bigger question here is not just about journalism, it's about this line of sight issue. Where does it come from? What are exactly the restrictions? And is there any stretch room for it when it comes we are not a strict science. Journalism's not a strict science where people are at, at some little station doing an experiment. And the hours required to put out a paper, to design a theater design, do not fall just in the classroom times that the teacher is going to be in that space. So does that say we can't offer this? We can't have journalism? We can't have theater design because we can't staff it enough? And it's not really fiscally feasible to have that much staff for these things. So it's a problem. But I think it's a bigger problem than just this one instance.
And I think this is a bigger issue than
Yes.
we will be able to tackle looking at the time. I would suggest that we invite Dr. Simpson to come at our next Senate meeting and address the line of sight issue and instructional space issue.
This also seems to be coming specifically from Karen Cant, so she might be.
Oh, okay, so
like to
invite
speak
both
with as
Dr.
well.
Simpson and Karen Camp?
Yeah, because there does seem to be, when classes aren't in session, the class rule doesn't apply. It's one of the things they said in kind of this weird thing. So if it's not a class, and they're working on something, does that line of, so I'm not sure about that, I'm really not.
I mean, we literally kick them out. They can't be in the theater.
Right, which is not very conducive to the way you want to do things.
Use of this space would be effective.
Without more information, I don't know what we can do with this item,
Yeah.
considering the time that we have.
I would just ask that if he is able to come speak to it and we put him on the agenda, that we put a call out to everyone because it's an issue for
Oh,
many.
very well.
Good.
Like, what do other schools do?
We can,
We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
we can ask that they provide some information as well.
Are you in contact with the paper from Fullerton College? What do they do, or how do they get more hours?
I'm not sure how the Fullerton Journalism Department does it. However, I do know that Fullerton Associated Students is able to use their space when there's no
Faculty line of
supervision.
sight.
Yeah, that's all I know right now.
So we'll need more information from Karen Cant and Dr. Simpson. Mark?
I think in order to address the what do other schools do, like for me, I'd be curious what the purpose of this is. Is it concern for liability of physical injury or theft? Because I know I've seen certain systems to accommodate theft prevention at some schools, and then others where they ignore. It is both.
Fear of rape and murder was literally said.
Okay.
I would hope that you would ask that question when we invite Dr. Simpson and Karen Cant to come to our meeting to address these items.
Hopefully Karen especially would know some of those answers, because there may be some state regulations like the line of sight type of thing, which, there's always these regulations, but sometimes people wiggle around them a little bit, and maybe we can find some wiggle room around it if that's really a problem.
Folks, I don't mean to stop the discussion, but I told you I would be very considerate of your time. And according to Robert's Rules of Order, if there is a time certain that the meeting is supposed to end, it is always appropriate to announce a motion to adjourn that is not debatable, unless it happens to be a motion to adjourn during a regular meeting for which the time has not expired. Our time did in fact expire 5 minutes ago, so I am more than happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
My motion.
Is there a second? It is not debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much.
Now, I want you to know that in doing that, we pick up right here
Yes.
when we start next time. Not with minutes, not
Nope.
with anything else. We
Yep.
start right here.
Absolutely.
That is because